Today on Chatter Squadron, we discuss our earliest memories of Star Wars. And Kathleen Kennedy gets 3 more years. 3 more years. All that today on Chatter Squadron. I'll just wait.
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for, Yugi?
Play your last pathetic card.
Play your last pathetic card.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, but it does have Exodia!
Exodia! No one's ever been able to summon him!
That's right. I could buy... I forget the...
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chatter Squadron, your weekly dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fun and positivity. My name is Tyler Buck, sat across from Mike Calhoun and Yu-Gi-Oh! Trowbridge, as always.
Hey, believe in the heart of the cards.
It would be Yugi Trowbridge.
Oh, hey, you're... I
You
wasn't
just said King of Games Trowbridge, which you just sound like a fool.
Do you even know what you're talking about?
Goodness. What was the name of that in the show? The game, the actual game.
Duel Monsters.
Jeez, I'm sorry. My parents wouldn't let me watch that show.
Oh.
It's too evil.
It is evil.
It
Shadow
is
Realm.
quite evil,
They're-
yeah, with the Shadow Realm. And everyone that has
Yugi
invisible
boy.
guns.
I forgot about the invisible gun.
The invisible guns, yeah.
Is that
And-
what?
and
Is that like
Pegasus.
an ET type thing where they
Yeah, they
replaced all
replaced
the
the guns with
with
walkie-talkies.
walkie-talkie?
See, what's funny about that part with him replacing all this, like, why did they all have walkie-talkies when they're all in the same room?
Who are you calling?
Because they're secretly walkie-talkie guns.
Oh, I see.
I think Spielberg should have said that. Like, look, I'm not replacing the guns with walkie-talkies. I'm just making the walkie-talkies guns.
That way they can be in civilian situations.
Yeah, that way everyone can be happy.
everyone. Yeah, I mean, I think when they made that change, everybody was happy.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah, that's one way to
The
put it.
producers, especially. Speaking of producers, I'd like to talk about our very first news.
I say
Sorry.
we have a lot of news.
I was trying to do a Tyler Buck's classic transition.
That was very good.
Speaking of
That
producers,
That was a swipe.
Let me produce for you the first story.
whoa!
No, that wasn't good. I
No.
was trying to get increasingly
Don't shortchange
weirder.
yourself.
Oh, thanks.
Speaking of change,
Speaking of
let's
change.
change the subject.
Speaking of subjects, let's talk about school.
No.
Oh.
It's back to school season.
Yes, it is.
And what happens
what-
when you go back to school?
You buy a
you
backpack.
And when you buy a backpack, you have to fill it with information. Let me give you that information to fill your backpack with.
Goodness. Welcome to. This isn't a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. This is a transitions podcast.
It's just all transitions, no content.
Speaking of content. But no, we have a bunch of news today.
Yeah,
but
let's get to
your guys' week, I'm guessing it was great. It was just amazing.
Super friggin' busy.
Yeah,
very busy, yes.
My sketch group, the Sad Boy Social Club, has a performance tonight as of this recording.
Careless plug there, Calhoun.
And it's we've been preparing all week, and it's going to be a big show. So yeah, it's been busy.
And then Johnny, busy with work, I think.
Yeah, and I stormed Normandy.
You stormed
was you.
Normandy, not
Yeah.
the beach.
Just me. They say there was 5 beachfronts, but it was just me.
Goodness.
Yeah.
You hit all 5 in one day.
Yeah. You ever heard of that story, 3 in 1 blow? Or is it 7 in 1 blow?
What?
I don't know that story.
That's a fairy tale. Never mind. Move on.
Yeah, it was also a busy week for me as well. But Johnny, here's our one little bit of banter. On our way here, we are in Ohio, if people need to know, and we were trying to think of animals, Johnny and I driving today, that are only here. And Johnny started with talking about squirrels.
Those aren't like necessarily just in Ohio.
Right,
There are black squirrels,
It's a
which
great
are
example.
right.
black squirrels are pretty unique to Ohio.
Yeah.
But he was talking about squirrels, and he said, squirrels, they're weird. There's...
I was like, they're like a mouse, but someone put a giant tail on it.
And as he says that, a squirrel runs out in the road, and Johnny has to swerve like a madman around it.
Why would
almost
you
ran it
risk
over.
your lives for the life of a fuzzy
Because
creature?
there was a car on the other side, so
So you were going to crash directly into it?
I would have
Yeah,
to save that squirrel.
I mean it's Ohio's
what's-
Ohio's national treasure, Calhoun.
Calhoun, what's the price of a life to you?
A squirrel's life?
Not to inconvenience your day.
Okay, I think a squirrel's life is lesser or equal to the life of a cardinal.
You just wanted to pronounce the middle initial in cardinal.
I was
so-
about to say, you just wanted to pronounce cardinal
I was trying
odd.
to think of another Ohio animal. That's so
That
precious.
is that is actually a pretty uniquely Ohio.
If you're listening to this and you're not in Ohio, we settled on raccoons are kind of like a
Those are everywhere. I'm pretty sure.
but like America.
That's pretty an American.
Yeah, you're right. That's a North American thing.
Because I thought those were weird. And then when I was talking about raccoons, one fell from the heavens and hit the
Yes.
windshield. It's crazy.
And I started talking, and it was like, I have hands. 'Cause I have hands.
God gave me hands just like you. That's what it said.
You're not better than me.
That's all raccoons want. They want to prove to the human race that they are equals.
Yes, because they have hands.
We need to be on equal footing. We also have a highway system. How do you think we get all this garbage to and from our metropolitan areas?
We also fly. How do you think I flew onto your windshield?
yeah.
Oh my God! What if the Raccoon Airlines?
Raccoon Airlines. I can't think of one. When
We take the trash across the country.
Aw.
that didn't flow.
That's
Work
pretty
on
good.
that and bring it to us
I'm
next
sorry.
week.
I'll get my better pitch next week.
Let's start out because we have a lot of news, and then we also, when we do our discussion period, we're going to talk about our first memories of Star Wars. It's going to be mostly an open discussion. We're just going to kind of talk in terms of what we remember, early memories, things that we liked, and I mean even leading up to now, like random other stuff that we've done.
That last night. I thought of a good story.
But the first thing I wanted to bring up was Kathleen Kennedy. Everybody loves Kathleen.
I don't know a single soul that would
Yeah.
speak
Everyone's like-
negatively about her.
Old KK.
Yeah, yep. Everyone says that. Oh no, my article. There's a pop-up. Goodness.
Well, luckily, we know exactly what the news is because it's very minimal.
Yeah, basically her deal with them got extended. With Lucasfilm, got extended to 2021, so 3 more years.
Wow.
3 more years.
3 more years.
How do you feel about that, Johnny?
I think it's really great.
What's your major reason for that?
I think that it's just gonna. Some people,
Okay.
not pointing fingers,
Don't point them anywhere in this.
tended to be dead set, and I might even say prophetic on the fact that this was not gonna happen.
Prophetic is a great word for that.
I had several people tell me, "Oh, just wait,
Yeah.
it'll happen this year," and they were like announcers for movies. That's why it just sounded like that.
Oh yeah, you know a lot of announcers for movies.
I
And
do.
They were
Also-
all saying that Kathleen.
Can you hit him with the echo?
Oh yeah, sure. Right here. Here we go.
Go for it, Johnny.
Kathleen Kennedy won't survive the summer.
That's what they were telling me,
That's a good impression.
and I was like, "I don't know about that." And what do you know?
They
Well,
really,
what do you know?
What do you know?
They kind of gave themselves a short time period too for their prophecy to. They're kind of like those doomsdayers.
Yeah. No one will survive tomorrow. And they're like, "Oh man, whoa, we were a little off about the date."
Oh, Kermit.
What we mean
don't
is
don't be don't be down on yourself.
Yeah, I didn't think Kathleen was gonna make it.
Ca-
But I think in 3 years she'll be gone.
Hey, mark my words. In 3
Yeah,
years,
in
her
3
deal will
years,
be up.
That's what's gonna be. It's gonna happen.
You joke, but that's literally what people are gonna say.
I agree. That's probably what they're going to say.
The one thing I would say, so I put
feel
an
bad.
article out
Go
with the Star Wars Hub a couple weeks ago at this point about her getting that honorary Oscar, and everybody in the comments, not everybody, but a big number of people were saying, "Oh, this is just they're giving it to her because they're pushing her out the door." I'm like, what? What do you think
Why
this
would-
is?
At least it's better than the other minority of people going, oh, they're just giving it to her because she's a woman.
Yeah, that
Oh,
too.
God.
Oh, are you kidding me?
It was actually more that's what if we're pulling the curtain back. That's what I thought was going to be the biggest thing. I'm like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
god,
That's what people are gonna say.
I can't wait. But no, it was people saying, oh, they're just giving her the honorary Oscar because she's going to be leaving Lucasfilm soon, and it's like, why would they do that?
Right.
And also,
And that doesn't go with any trend anywhere where they give honorary Oscars.
right, because also what I was bringing up in my article is George Lucas got that same award like 10 years ago.
Right.
So
That's because
and
he was leaving.
Yeah, he was leaving in like 7 years. Yeah, he's on his way out in the next 7 years here.
Mark my words. 7 years, this guy's gone. After he signs a paper and gets a large sum of money. But
Yeah, he's gonna make a deal sometime in the future.
and you mark my words, after he signs that deal that says he gets lots of money and they get his stuff, he's gone.
He's done. Once that happens, once he
mean, he'll-
signs it away.
He'll still show up at stuff and things, but like, he doesn't have input.
He'll be gone. You'll never see him again, except at events.
And like, he'll do interviews and things. And
And help
I think he was just
Find
on a
loc-
show last week, but like, he's not really.
help find locations for Solo.
You just wait.
I mean, some random movie that might happen. But no, so yeah, I mean that's all the news story is, and that's
Yes.
kind of our input on it. So I mean, but Johnny, you put it very correctly in terms of it's for us. That's how I feel. There is that little bit of like, a lot of people did really say that she was gone, like right now.
Oh, what do you know?
Well, what do you know?
Our other news story is kind of similar in length.
Yeah. We have two more bigger ones, but this one is Jon Favreau from Favreau's Pizza. I just had a slice of one of their.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it
Oh,
New
it's
York
good.
style or Chicago?
It's actually right in the middle. It's the Akron style.
Which is just crappy.
I'm waiting for them to start their new Hong Kong style.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's just filled with gas. it's they have the dough.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of encapsulating the gas like a pie.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of like cheese filled with gas filled.
Yes.
There was a Sonic commercial. That's what I was referencing not back in the day, maybe several years ago, where they were talking about hot dogs, the New York style hot dog and the Chicago style hot dog. And they talked about what the middle point of those two hot dogs would be. And it was Akron.
Oh.
Yeah. So they had like a whole
The Akron
commercial about that.
Well, there is a thing about hot dogs in Ohio. Don't they have a?
Yes, that is a good point. Like, there is something about Ohio hot dogs.
Have you guys ever had a good hot dog casserole, like at a church?
Yeah.
I don't believe I have, and
Those
I
are
used to love
gross.
hot dogs.
Oof.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a squid hot dog?
Squid
No.
hot dog?
When
Oh yeah.
yeah, when they have the hot dog, right, and they cut it like
Oh,
into a little
what?
bit, and then give it like an eyes and a mouth,
No,
and like
thank
spread
you.
it out so it looks like a squid or like an octopus.
Yes,
Wow,
I've had that like once or twice.
is super special, and
I was
I've
like,
never had that.
That's a lot of work for 5 seconds of eating.
Yeah, for a hot dog, probably the worst food in the world.
I thought you were just nicknaming a boiled hot dog a squid hot dog because it's just slimy and gross.
You know me, I give everything nicknames. But no, Jon Favreau, Favreau's Pizza, amazing new hot dog pizza. Oh, it's good. It's
And his side projects.
yeah, and his other. We'll talk about his other
Yeah,
stuff in
yeah,
a second.
that's not
But the
very
whole,
important.
it's a whole, just any type of pizza you want between two large hot dog buns.
Oh God. Do they
I know.
roll it up?
It sounds good, right?
Do they roll it?
It's a bunch of like pizza rolls in a hot dog bun.
Oh God.
Ooh, covered in mustard.
Stop
Okay.
Too much mustard.
All right, so oh Lord, all right. The first story was from Variety. FYI, I want to try and
Oh, the first story about Kathleen.
yeah. Star Wars Underworld.com. This is what they said, that production on the first ever live action Star Wars series is just around the corner. Jason Ward over at MakingStarWars.net is reporting that Jon Favreau's series will begin filming as soon as next week. So when you're listening to this, it might have already started filming. The series will take place a couple years following the events of Return of the Jedi and is rumored to be focused on Mandalorian warriors. The series will debut in the upcoming Disney direct-to-consumer streaming service launching next year. So, once again, another short story in the terms of that, well, it's a rumor, but there are pictures out of the set.
Yeah, remember how we figured out how it was after episode 6?
Oh, yeah, because somebody on the set was wearing Levi's.
And what's the end part of Levi?
VI.
VI, which is the Roman numerals for 6.
Exactly.
So,
That's and Lee,
yeah, is like the French word for so the 6th.
the 6th.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that he was wearing pants.
Oh, but it might have been talking about Toronto, which is where they might film it.
Les Six.
Les 6.
The 6.
Running down Les 6 with my horse. Counting money, you know how it goes.
They haven't had any
pretty
French
good French.
accents in Star Wars, have
They
they?
don't have French accents in Toronto.
Maybe
you're right.
in the new canon, Mandalore will be like France.
Oh my god!
That would be
all-
pretty
they'll
wild.
I would watch the heck
They'll
out
all
of it.
have French accents.
I kind of want that to happen now.
You will never get away, monsieur.
Post Vizsla.
I want them all. Yeah, and then all the Mandalorians' armor will look like kind of like musketeers.
They don't have the fleur de lis.
Flowers. Oh man, that'd be so funny.
But yeah, so the pictures of the set, it's literally of like a building. It kind of looks like something that would be on Tatooine almost.
Oh,
Just
like
in
a
that,
mud hut.
yeah, kind of. It looks like the outside of a cantina.
Oh,
And the reason why we know it's for that is because in the picture you can see pixelated Jon Favreau holding a hot dog pizza
Oh my god!
in one hand and the script for the banking.
it's got the song.
Banking, we love banking.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, anytime somebody says banking, I say that.
Cool.
I don't know when that was when we made our own stories, isn't it?
Yes,
Correct?
that was yeah.
So,
What a great episode.
right, go back and listen to that to hear.
The what could have happened episode, I believe.
I think so. Right.
What might have happened in the galaxy? What
knows?
if it was our what if episode? If something had slightly changed, it could have changed the whole galaxy forever. It was great.
Sounds good to me.
It's a great episode.
Well, go listen to. We have several great episodes that you can go back and listen
Tons.
to. Calhoun, would you like to talk about virtual reality?
Yes, a story that didn't catch a ton of traction this week, but did get announced because it's affiliated with Industrial Light and Magic, specifically their little branch called ILM Lab, which I follow on Twitter. But they announced, along with Oculus, that a new VR series, by the way, starring Darth Vader, is going to be delivered in 3 episodes on I presume all virtual reality consoles. But
namely, Oculus Rift.
but specifically Oculus Quest, which is a new device from Oculus that's completely wireless.
Oh, that's
really?
big.
Yes.
That is massive.
It is real big, and the reason I think they announced it alongside with this game is to push the new console because it's coming out in 2019. It doesn't have the HDMI cable plugging into the back of the headset, so you're not tethered down.
Right.
You just need space, and then the controllers are, of course, wireless.
That is a huge drawback of VR right now. VR games is having to be connected by the head.
Yes.
With cables.
Because they want you to stand up, and then you're like, well, now I'm out of cable. If I move forward, I'm going to rip my cable out, or I'm going to rip my PS4 or my console, my PC out of the wall. Well, let me get to the more details about this game specifically. So the game is being written and produced by Dark Knight trilogy writer David S. Goyer.
Oh my
Holy.
god!
And in it, he says you'll explore Vader's castle on Mustafar, and you'll be loomed over by him at least once for like a lesson. So it is going to be a lightsaber wielding game, which they've already tried. ILM Lab. They've already made a kind of a version of something called Trials on Tatooine. It already exists, so if we owned a VR headset, we could try it out. And on that, the explanation is that you're a Padawan and you're waiting for Han Solo to deliver something in the Millennium Falcon on Tatooine, and in the meantime, you're defending the landing pad from stormtroopers.
I
So
see.
it's really like deflecting and stabbing and stuff.
Right.
You don't get to move very far, but it's the same kind of concept.
Understandable.
So, the branch of ILM Lab, is producing the game. They're working with Ninja Theory, the creators of Devil May Cry, to nail the lightsaber combat that will be the big part of the game.
Ninja Theory. Those are the people that have a theory that ninjas exist, right?
Yes.
Wow. They were the first people to think of that.
I'm trying to see what else do I have. Oh, you can find gameplay videos of Trials on Tatooine easily on YouTube. But this game looks like it's oh yeah, I specifically already said this. It looks like it's gonna try and move the Oculus Quest, the new wireless.
What's the
headset.
price point on those?
$400. But currently,
That's not
Oculus
crazy.
Rift is $399. So it's like they're saying next year, 2019, when they release this thing, it's going to be $400. That's pretty freaking awesome.
That's
if you ask
really
me.
good. But
That's all the details they have on
The
it.
game probably will be worth more money than that.
Oh, the game. If I had to make a guess, I would say it's going to be as much, if not a little bit more, than current VR games, which aren't full price, like $60 IPs for like PS4. They're usually cheaper.
And it's, I think that'll open it up more and more because a lot of VR stuff, there is a good kind of market for indie games too. Like little, you're just in a room, you have to get out type things.
This is what I spoke about with my roommate and friends before you guys got here, about how this is really what VR has to do, actually, until VR becomes like an every household kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like right now, the publishers can't say, yeah, we're going to go all in and make a huge game that takes 2 years of our studio's time. No, they got to have these little things to push the numbers up on these devices, and then people will be like, yeah, I can make a full immersive game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I played
Which is I'm fine with, because just the experience of VR alone, let alone having like a long game, is good enough for us. Mm-hmm. And wireless, that's great.
and it takes a lot to figure out what people want to do with VR. Like, I don't know if you ever play, and VR is similar to in like Wii and things like that, where you have
Right.
to use controllers. And I don't know if you ever played Xbox like Connect.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, and we had I got the Fable one.
Oh, yeah.
But to go anywhere, to get your horse, you had a horse in the game. You had to hit the reins,
Yeah.
and you did like do like you're yanking the reins
You're
on the
whipping
horse.
yeah.
But you have to do that every time you need to go faster, and they'll have stuff chase you all the times.
So you just
She is
doing
like
this.
all the time, and you're so they didn't work out the formula great, but you did get to shoot fireballs by like winding up, and like it was really cool.
That's cool.
And have you guys, speaking of that, and with like VR recently, have you seen that random lightsaber like Guitar Hero ish
Yes.
game?
Yes. That was cool.
Have you seen that, John?
Yeah,
Where you have to hit like them, and boxes fly at you with arrows, and you have to slash them at where the arrows are.
Really?
And
Like
it's
Fruit Ninja or something.
It's like Fruit Ninja, but it's to a beat. So you have to keep with the tempo and do different things for when the beat like, oh my gosh.
The one I saw, a guy was using a double-ended saber, and one side was blue, one side was red, and you had to hit the appropriately colored boxes.
Oh God.
Which made it look extra crazy, because
Yeah.
he was just like spinning it and stuff, because
Man.
the red and blue would be on the opposite side. And I was like, I thought it was fake. I thought it was just completely made up for the video.
Right.
But no, it's a real game.
Yeah.
I don't know who makes
This
it.
is how they train people to be Darth Maul actors.
And Ray Park beat them all.
Yeah, Ray Park
yeah, he's the
knocked
one
him
that-
out of the park.
Oh, the final story before we go and talk about early memories of Star Wars. It comes from Dork Side of the Force. They have the synopsises for the first 5 episodes of Star Wars Resistance. So Star Wars Resistance came out with a full-length trailer. I don't know if you guys saw it.
No, not yet. We could watch it at the break.
I think it's pure fun. That's just me. It looks like a lot of fun, and it also looks like it's for 10-year-olds, which is completely fine.
Yeah.
But here is what each episode kind of is. Episode 1 of Season 1 and Episode 2 of Season 1 is called The Recruit Part 1 and 2. X-Wing pilot Kazuda Shiono is recruited for the Resistance, but finds himself over his head when Poe Dameron assigns him to a remote fueling station to spy on the First Order. Then, after Kaz boasts about being the best pilot around, he is forced to compete in a dangerous sky race.
Sky Race.
So that is the first.
So Kazuto
episode.
is his last name, but his nickname is Kaz.
Kazuda is his first name.
Oh, it's
Kazuda Shiono.
Ah ha ha ha.
But yeah, I guess Kaz is his.
It's a good Star Warsy nickname.
Episode 3, The Triple Dark. Kaz and BB-8 uncover information on an imminent pirate attack and must find a way to stop it. This episode will also feature the voice of Gwendolyn Christie as Captain Phasma.
Man, BB-8 getting his balls and everything. He's just rolling around in all of Star Wars.
He's gotten his balls all over stuff.
Yeah,
All over the whole trilogy.
but so does R2.
Yeah. He's like, he just breaks into a Star Destroyer and hacks all the consoles and drives it into the ground or something.
Right. Something like that. Let's see. And then episode 4, Fuel for the Fire. Kaz befriends a sky racer named Rucklin, who pressures him to take some rare and dangerous hyperfuel hidden in Yeager's office.
Yeager.
I'm guessing we'll know who that
Yeah.
is when we get there.
I have a quick question for the two of you. Since they mentioned pirates on the previous episode, how did you guys feel about the pirates and their frequency of use in the Clone Wars?
I liked that dude, and I can't remember. Hondo.
Yeah, there was a lot
I
of-
liked his voice acting a lot.
He's used that guy who voices him using a lot of things.
I feel like there would be a lot of pirates just because it'd be hard to police everything.
Yeah.
And I presume that a resistance training base would be like in the outskirts.
Yeah.
I also, the only issue I had with Hondo and his crew was his stupid UFO flying saucer.
Oh yeah, he
ship.
did have a flying saucer.
Right.
right.
A flying saucer ship?
He
Yes.
did, yeah. How often did they show that though? A couple times.
Couple times, yeah.
And then they kind of abandoned that.
Too many times.
Yeah.
Once was too many.
Well, maybe Hondo will get a resurgence, but maybe we'll see some new pirates.
He got his resurgence in Rebels.
Oh, he did?
He did. Yeah.
Shows my.
I will say for fuel for the fire, Elijah Wood of the Lord of the Rings fame will guest star in this 4th episode.
Poor Elijah Wood only being known for Lord of the Rings for the rest of his life.
Other than that one movie where he was a kid and he loses his parents or something like that.
The Good Son?
Is
with
that what
Macaulay Culkin?
Oh, is that Macaulay Culkin? Or
Well, it's the two of them. It's Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin, and Elijah Wood stays with Macaulay Culkin's family, and Macaulay Culkin is a psychopath child, and then the mother has to choose between the two of them.
whoa.
Yeah.
Sure, that one. Why don't people say that more?
Yeah, exactly. Why don't people say, "Oh, the good son"
I was thinking that.
or Wilfred?
What's that Illuminated or Everything is Illuminated that Elijah Wood's in? That was a really good one too, but no one's gonna know for that.
Elijah Wood is an odd-looking man.
I love Elijah Wood.
Why don't people say Spy Kids 3 fame?
I would want to hang out with Elijah Wood. He just seems like a very cool person. So if you want to talk to me, Elijah Wood, just
I was trying to think of another credit that he was in a Netflix original movie that was really good.
No, I think Spy Kids 3 is the ticket right there.
That's the top of the.
we might even see him. This is a lie, probably, but apparently he goes to cons, but he'll always be dressed in a costume so people don't talk to him.
You
Which
know,
is smart because I wouldn't want to do that either.
what if? Sorry, Dominic Monaghan.
Han with an N at
Yeah, he'll be there, but he'll be in like some like Shrek costume or something.
Right. So Dominic is in episode 9, and right when he's about to do something important, Elijah Wood will step out as Frodo
Oh
and
my
be
God.
like, Mary,
Mary.
you're supposed to be helping me with the ring. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. And then he leaves.
Oh my God.
And Middle Earth is a part of the galaxy far, far away.
What if they land on a planet, but it's like all archaic, and they find out it's Middle Earth?
Dun, dun.
Dude, that'd be.
Although every Jedi would like beat Sauron's armies in like 5 seconds. So
But could they beat Sauron?
Sauron is
long as they cut
basically
off his hand, yeah.
Sauron is basically a Sith Lord.
He is.
More or less.
The ring is like a Sith artifact.
That's so true.
oh yeah, it's
That's-
kind of.
All right, final one, episode 5, The High Tower. The First Order arrives at the platform for mysterious reasons, and Kaz and BB-8 are determined to sneak into the tower to find out what they want. Donald Faison guest stars in episode 5.
I love Donald Faison.
Good
Me
for
too.
you, Donald Faison.
Good for Donald Faison.
That's a guy who I just want to hang out with in real life.
They didn't say any.
This again.
They didn't say Donald.
You, Donald, and Elijah just hanging out,
Just hanging out.
You, Donald, and Elijah.
having some non-alcoholic beers.
Yeah, just having some sodas.
Is that who you want to replace us with on the show, Johnny?
Donald Faison and Elijah Wood. That would be a pretty great
That's
show.
a pretty good podcast.
That's a good podcast
Yeah,
right there.
you know what? We'll give it all this up if that's the case.
I will voluntarily leave if Donald Faison's like, look, I know all this stuff. I'll take care of it.
Right. I'll even stand off camera and be like, God, I wish that was me.
Yeah, just like giving them thumbs up, encouragement.
Good job, guys.
Right. Wow, guys, what a good show.
Can I top off your drink?
Can I top off your soda? So yeah, a lot of news.
Yeah, and as far as I say, good news.
Oh yeah, all good news
All
around.
good news around here.
Yeah. Only good news is what we report on, you see.
Are you guys getting more excited for Resistance, or just kind of staying a little bit indifferent? I'm staying indifferent, but actually, to be quite honest, I'm very excited to see more of it. I want to see this trailer when we go to break, because people are really hating on it for reasons that that don't make sense, and
True.
it's frustrating me as it goes along.
I just think it's not targeted to me, so I'm not going to pursue it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So see, there you go. It's not.
not
It's
meant-
not meant for me. So I'm not going to be like, ugh.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to consume it for the canon. I
Right.
need to know
Consume the canon.
I'm trying to think of like a good representation of what that kind of is to make it. I mean, listen, if you think it looks bad and it will be bad, that's fine. But I'm trying to think of like maybe like a DC or a Marvel cartoon that's super kid oriented.
Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, that's a great
A
example.
great show that's
But I
clearly
would-
not meant to be affiliated with the rest of the universe. But
Exactly.
And
it's
I wouldn't
fun.
watch it. It's not targeted to me.
Right.
yeah, it's targeted to the dog I live with.
Yeah, you
He
do play it
loves
for
that
the
show.
dog.
Yo-yo
Loves that
especial.
show. Yeah.
Yo-yo especial. All right. Let's go to the break. But before we do that, Calhoun, would you like to shout out the tiny chair and how people can become the king/queen?
I would love to.
Wow, thank you.
Our current king/queen is Hoth Solo, with a review and rating of 5 stars titled Tiny Chair. And it reads, "You guys are awesome. Good topics every time." Thank you, Hoth Solo. And if you want to dethrone this king/queen, then you must leave us a 5-star review or rating and review on iTunes. And then we can choose you.
Yeah.
And then you're in the pool for us to pick from.
You're in the royal pool.
The royal bath.
The royal pool. And you have to leave us a review too, so we can, because we have
Yeah,
like,
because it's fun. If you just leave a rating, I mean, thank you.
but we can't
We'll have
shout
a
you
mo-
out
Yeah,
directly.
I
We'll
wanna
have
shout
a
you out.
moment of silence for you.
Yeah, well, it depends on how somber your review is, I guess. We'll have a. If you tell us here, how about this? If you tell us to leave a moment of silence, like parentheses moment of silence,
wow.
we'll do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I kind of like that.
We are trained actors.
We are acting. Oh, drama.
And scene.
good old.
The Icelandic Irish drinking song.
Oh, I love it.
That's a good old whose line is it anyway joke.
Dude, Whose Line is actually really good. And shame on you, improv community, for shunning that show. It was gold. It introduced America into a new form of comedy, or a form of comedy that wasn't popular. So hush.
And
Hush, everyone.
like with our, I think we can pull the curtain. So we're going to be talking about just our memories coming up with Star Wars and that type of thing. It's very free form. But I would say to kind of show that is pulling the curtain back of a couple weeks ago, the Emperor sketch where Johnny was the Emperor and
Oh, yeah, Johnny wasn't here. But
oh
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, say if Johnny was the Emperor,
Hypothetically.
that's a long form improv sketch basically.
Yeah. Because it was more than a half hour
of just straight improv of Johnny being one character and us having to play the straight man to him, basically.
And we were actually, we were characters ourselves. We were parodies of like a daytime talk show.
yeah, extra happy.
That's a good Star Wars memory.
There's a good Star Wars.
What a good Star Wars memory.
But no, yeah, and then like with our pit.
Oh, the episode.
Yeah, where we went into the Sarlacc pit. That's another kind of long form improv.
And you got the short end of the stick on that one because you had to do it yourself. You had to basically, in a vacuum,
Be Boba Fett.
almost literally and fictionally,
Yeah, we
the
actually
story.
put me in a vacuum for that.
kind of. You had to come up with stuff on your own.
We cut
No
some
reference.
stuff that I said though.
There was a lot of stuff we cut from
Some-
both. To be
some
honest,
stuff.
it was a long day of work.
But no, here. So I'll start off, and I'll talk about my first, I would say, solid memory of Star Wars. It's more so that I used to watch Star Wars all the time. All the time. We were just talking about my upbringing a little bit ago off mic. We didn't have cable television or anything. So when I wanted to watch something basically on demand, it was popping in the VHS tapes of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So to say I remember the first time I watched Star Wars, I can't really say that
Yeah,
because
right.
I don't
Okay.
really remember.
I just watched it so many times.
Right.
I'm the same way. I actually can't remember the very first time. But
Right.
I have my memories surrounding
I
it.
remember watching Revenge of the Sith for the first time.
Yeah,
I saw it in theaters.
I remember, and we'll get to that, but I remember seeing episode 1 for the first time. But one of my first earliest memories has to do with my brother Brandon, and Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. He does this thing where Luke and Leia shoot off on speeders, and he goes, "Hey, wait!" And then a scout trooper comes up behind him, and he flips the scout trooper over his shoulder, right?
Yeah.
One of my, I think it probably is the first Star Wars memory I have, is I would go, "Hey, wait." And then Brandon would come up behind me. My brothers are 9 and 11 years older than me. So he would come up behind me and I'd grab his arm and throw him over my shoulder.
That's awesome.
So that's
fun.
one of my first memories is being Han Solo
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, wait," and then throwing my brother over my shoulder.
That's special because it combines your obsession with wrestling as well. You get to fake wrestle your brother. your
Little
older
did we
brother.
know my two favorite things met that day.
It was boiling
Kind of
from
a beautiful, yeah.
So is there any peaks? Like, so is one of your first, is that scene episode 3? Because we were oldish around episode 3. We were like
I
12.
remember watching it before. I'm saying the only one I watched like in theaters
I see.
that I remember. Oh, I watched that.
Right.
Because I don't think I watched the other ones in theaters. I think I just saw them afterwards.
Huh.
It's possible that happened to me. I don't have a first, like, when I watched the original trilogy memory, but I remember receiving it in a 3-pack VHS from my Uncle Ron.
Was it gold?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the gold
You
one.
got the, like, dark blue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Early 90s, or mid 90s, rather.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And it had Darth Vader's face on it because it was themed, like the outside box was themed like A New Hope, but then all 3 of the VHS sleeves had
'Cause
their own art.
The middle one had Yoda.
Yep, it did. It was, and it was purple. And,
Yes, it was.
And Empire Strikes Back. And then the third one was green, of course.
These were
Oh yeah.
these were before.
Yeah, those are great VHS set. And each
This was
movie-
before the special edition, because the special edition that we had growing up, VHS wise, was gold.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think no, you're totally right because I remember that one coming out afterwards, and I remember I just didn't care. I didn't care who George Lucas was or this journalist that was he was being interviewed by at the beginning of each movie. I just knew I had to fast forward about
too, yeah.
15 to 20 minutes before I could get to the movie, and that's why I always watched. And that's another reason why the production company logos are ingrained in my brain as a part of Star Wars too, 20th Century Fox, and
Right.
then we got to get THX, Lucasfilm, and that's why I still like watching them today. It's because we get to that point, you press play, and then finally Star Wars is there.
Yeah.
What's this old man and this other old man talking about?
That's so true.
Well, our New Hope VHS tape was damaged, so we didn't get like sound for most of it. Like it would come in and out, or it'd be
wow.
like really muffled.
Or it sometimes go back to the old Scottish guy that played Darth Vader instead of James Earl.
Yep. Sometimes we do that.
Show us the
hell?
Yeah, that's right. I think about it now, and not to sound like old fart, but just like noticing the differences. Like, imagine what terrible technology that you could not watch a movie you paid to watch.
That's true.
It's like, what a terrible medium, like VHS.
It probably cost a lot of money, but we were, kids, so we didn't have a concept.
We just didn't even think about
what
it.
that
Right.
costs money.
But now, if you were to go to the store, buy a Blu-ray player, and the Blu-ray didn't work, you'd be like, "What's
What?
this? I'm going to get a refund."
Even if it was a little fuzzy, you'd be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
every
yeah.
once in a while, what's wrong with my Blu-ray player?
And you're like,
one
there's a-
dead pixel on my TV. I got to return it.
Exactly. And back then, you're like, there's a giant black line through the screen. I guess that's why.
Right. I mean, did you guys ever run into this where a movie wasn't rewound before you watched
And
it?
you're like,
Well, no. You would come in, like, say, in the middle of Empire Strikes Back, and they're just getting in cloud sitting, and you're like, I guess I'm just watching it from this point.
Exactly. You're like, I don't really want to take the time to
To rewind
it,
this
so I'll
VHS
just-
tape.
And sometimes, if you had a machine that rewound things really slowly, you're right. You would
It'd be
give
like
up.
15 minutes. Yeah, you'd be like, it's not worth it anymore.
Did you guys ever
I
have
just-
the rewind, like a
I was gonna
specific
say, I
rewinder?
knew someone that was rich that had a rewinder that looked like a Corvette. You loaded it into the
Oh.
Corvette,
Whoa.
and it it was really fast. And I was just
Huh.
like, "This is so cool." When I'm old, I can't wait to have this awesome rewinder.
This technology will last forever.
I know.
What a sustainable media source is this tape?
this extremely. If I want to, I can literally lift this flap and breathe on it. That's how pure it
Yeah.
is.
Also, it would damage it.
But
I was kidding.
so, did you guys have any sort of memories? I'm not saying like be like me. I'm just saying, do you have a memory like that as a kid, like first time playing Star Wars or doing something around Star Wars?
I remember collecting the card game. Do you remember the card game?
No,
Sort
There's
of.
probably been several.
I collected. There was like a trading card game. I think it's the same one.
Okay.
But like, I remember playing it. It was Magic the Gathering, more or less.
Yeah.
It was just pretty much the same. And I remember being even then thinking this is too confusing, and I just didn't play it very much. But my cousins all played it. I remember also I loved Legos, Star Wars
Yeah.
Legos, so I would collect those. And I remember building those a lot. I had some of the action figures, but it was mainly my cousin Matt that collected those. So I would go and try to find him those because I was like, I guess it's like my thing was
giving gifts.
giving gifts.
Yeah.
So I do have a very fond memory of going to an Amish flea market in the middle of like Ohio because it's the only
Right.
place that there's like giant Amish flea markets. And the guy, this Amish man, had literally nothing but hundreds and hundreds of Star Wars action figures. Like every
What?
single one there was.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God. And they were like $5 each. And I was like,
Wow.
how much money do I have? And I bought as many as I could.
Oh, what a gold mine!
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was a highlight of my youth.
Does that Amish man think that that is all real technology?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he has removed himself from the real world. So he's like, these TIE fighters, I guess that's what the U.S. military are using.
Yeah, that's what they're doing over there. The English.
I guess the English have a Star Destroyer. Hope they don't blow us up.
Oh, they're living in sin.
Why?
This is what sin will get you,
Yeah,
a Death Star.
Why do they sound
They're
like
holding up an X-wing.
1940s radio announcers?
That's what they all sound like, Johnny.
Oh,
we know.
sorry.
We've been to the Amish flea market.
Okay,
They
sorry.
all got they're all talking into their horse tails like it's a microphone. That's
Crazy Irish. I mean,
Amish.
crazy Irish.
That's crazy Irish.
I have similarly revolving around action figures. I've been watching Star Wars since I was a very, very young lad because I remember playing with the action figures at my babysitter's. So this had to have been before I started school, so maybe 4 years old. And my babysitter's sons were grown up, and they had the action figures. One of them did. And not only did they have a ton of the action figures, but they were in a Darth Vader action figure case. It was his helmet, but it was like kind of flattened, you know, because they couldn't actually make a huge real size version of it. Kind of like this, but yeah. Imagine this about 10 times larger. I'm not
I was
kidding
kind of
you.
thinking this.
Yeah, kind of like that. And it would open up to the side.
For the listener, we have a Chewbacca toy that his face peels off and it makes a playset that I just broke right
no.
now.
But I'm holding a Darth Vader mask that's kind of, and I'm using it as an example. So it would like open, wouldn't make that sound.
oh, cool.
And but he had dozens, and not hundreds, but he had dozens. And he had like the authentic Luke Skywalker, authentic Han Solo. It was amazing, and I didn't really appreciate what it was and how like rare that actually was until way later. But it was great to play with when I was a very young lad. I only had a few, and we've talked about this on our toy and Lego episodes before, that I don't actually have a lot of collections of Star Wars toys, and I didn't when I was a kid. I might have had two, like Luke and Leia or something.
Right.
But I remember playing with this set with the Darth Vader helmet so much.
Oh, man.
He had little Ewoks with little like cloth.
Oh,
clothes.
yeah.
It was awesome. It was.
I remember those.
That's a very special memory. Playing with those action.
Is that
figures.
like one of your first ones that you can think of?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's one of the first, especially Star Wars.
I wonder if those are worth any money now. Probably not.
Tons, maybe.
Maybe.
It really,
okay.
It
at
really,
least in the tens of dollars, I would say.
the whole tens of
it
No,
really
like
is
little-
a maybe when it comes to some Star. You never know with Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that Chewbacca thing that opens up, like if that's just like, oh, barely anybody got. You never know
knows?
because there's been so much Star Wars merchandise.
right.
But
It's its own economy now.
another memory I have actually is with someone you guys know, but the listener doesn't know. Probably Dan Stewart, one of my friends. That was a big thing that him and I connected with was Star Wars from the very beginning. I'm talking like for like 7 or
Wow.
so. But we used to play Star Wars all the time. Anytime we saw each other. And same thing with my friend Logan Hansaker growing up, playing Star Wars all the time. Logan and I probably the friend I've had like the longest. I've known him for his whole life. We made up our own Star Wars story in a different timeline,
man.
all of this type of stuff.
That's cool.
And if it wasn't that, he was playing as Anakin and I was Kit Fisto because I loved Kit Fisto.
Who doesn't love Kit
Kit
Fisto?
Fisto, yeah. This is the Kit Fisto love podcast.
Right.
Everyone.
We always give it some love.
He's just like the coolest looking. He's like, I'm a
he's
guy
for
with
real.
flesh dreads.
Flesh dreads. Yeah. Oh, it's all flesh dreads Fisto over there.
Ugh, I don't like that.
Tyler's really into Kit Fisto. He's into Predator.
Wait
Oh.
a second.
I'm big into, and I was talking about squid hot dogs
Squid
before.
hot
Big into tentacles.
Yeah.
But no, so growing up, that was something that from a very young age, because I think we've talked about on the show before, I did fencing growing up. So being good with the blade was always a big thing in my life.
He
Being
studied
very
the blade.
sarcastic for the listener.
He studied the blade.
Right.
Did you have the toy lightsabers? You probably did. Yeah.
Yo, yeah. I mean, I had my brothers
Yeah.
too. My parents might still have my brothers like from the 90s, most likely. Like
the ones that were like the huge handles because you had to fit all those tube in there, and then the tube only went out 12 inches anyway.
Yes.
Like, am I just directing air traffic?
I will say, I remember when those first came out. Do you remember that, Johnny? When the ones that go all the way into the hilt came out? Man, that was a game.
Everyone went and got those.
That was a game changer.
I don't know why it took so long for the battery-powered extendable ones to come out, because those took a while.
I got one where you would press a button and it would shoot out, but it broke like nearly instantly.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
They weren't well made.
No.
Especially if you smashed them into each other.
Yeah, it's like weird.
That's
it's like,
the whole point of them.
It's the whole point.
But I think that's another very early memory is just whatever. Actually, I remember my brother's wife when she was just his girlfriend growing up. I was in the backyard with a stick, mind you, just going to town on some droids, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, okay? But to them, they're looking out the back screen door and just seeing Tyler in the backyard going, blah, 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 blah. And her being like, what the heck? And she's like, man, what a nerdy little kid. Like, that's so lame, so nerdy, whatever. Flash forward to my nephew, Max, when he was born, and now he's like, well, he's about to turn 13, actually. I don't want to think about that. But he maybe 14. Oh Lord. But him being like 5 in the same backyard of my parents with a stick. Wah, 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 wah. It's like,
that's your son.
Yeah, let me tell you something. The love of Star Wars knows
deep.
no bounds.
Right, deep in the Trowbridge blood.
What?
Or excuse me, the
The
Buck's blood.
blood.
You guys are just the same to me.
It does run in the Trooper's blood.
It runs in both.
We had lots of battles as well. We had one game we would play with where you'd shoot Nerf darts and you had to deflect them with the lightsaber. Did you ever do that one?
I did it with you. I know that.
Yeah. We have Calhoun wouldn't participate in this. This was like 6 or 7 years ago.
I may explain why. But soon.
Yes, actually explain why to me. right now.
It's put on trial here.
Calhoun, or Johnny, explain what happened first, and then Calhoun can have a rebuttal.
Well, let me just say, I asked Calhoun to do it, and he said it was childish at the time.
Okay, explain what it is.
But I probably should explain what it is before you pass judgment on Calhoun. So we would go to a park that was nearby.
I was a part of this as well.
This is Tyler and I. We've known each other a very long time.
Yeah. 10 years this year.
Yeah, it's 10 years. Wow, that's a long time.
Whoa.
So we would go to this park, and we would play like a version of Capture the Flag, but you had lightsabers. And like the rule was, if you like ran into another person with a lightsaber, you had to duel them.
And
no one could get involved in the duel.
Yep, it's just you two.
You just had to. Those people had to work it out. And so, if you got tagged, you had to go back to like where your starting point was, which wasn't where the flag was. And basically, you had to find it, take it, go back. Regular capture flag. We had Juggernaut version 2.
That too, yeah.
Where you had like a giant shield and then a really long lightsaber we had.
And a dubstep helmet, but continue.
Yeah, the dubstep.
Yeah.
I took a bicycle helmet and I duct taped 2 speakers to the top of it, spray painted the whole thing gold, and then hooked it up to an iPod shuffle that blasted dubstep.
How did you get the speakers to be powered up?
They were. I don't know how I did that.
Wow.
It was
With
just
the force.
I was gonna
Of
say it
course.
was like the centrifugal force of you swinging
Yep.
your
Yep.
arms and head.
So it would just.
Wait a second. You were able to make a wireless dubstep helmet, but VR just now finally made a wireless VR headset. Get with the times, Oculus.
Yeah, they really do need to hire Johnny. Johnny used to invent a lot of things on our previous podcast.
I used to.
Oh my God, yes.
I did.
The
You
unbelievable.
would invent something every week. But
Oh, that's
yeah,
what I did.
We're
I
getting
forgot about
distracted,
that,
but
yeah.
yeah. He made this helmet and it was wonderful. I witnessed it. I got to see pictures. We gotta dig up those pictures.
We
and
should
post
dig
them
up
on
dig
the
up the
Instagram.
picture.
Oh my God,
We would
yes.
go- so we would all
What a
go,
beautiful memory.
and we had like a sudden death round in the tennis courts.
I've
So-
seen
so
those.
dumb.
That's the most lame thing you've ever heard in your life.
That was like it was severe because there's nowhere to go. You're in a tennis court. But anyway,
It's a cage match.
and
Welcome to the cage match.
and I would have the Darth Maul blade, and I didn't know how to
you
use
were,
it.
You were so like, I'm always gonna use this, and you're like, you don't know how to use it.
and I
Johnny.
didn't know how to use it. I would just like be flipping around. I'm like, I look so freaking cool. Oh my god.
But yeah, so it was basically capture the flag, but with lightsabers.
Yeah. So we must have been like 16 or something.
No,
Was it 18?
This
like
is when we were
20,
yeah. This is when
21.
we were working at Chipotle because we knew Calhoun.
Yikes.
So like 19, 20, 21 around that time.
Man, I'm
Yeah.
so cool.
So Calhoun, why would you not want to be a part of that?
Guys, my answer might be a little long-winded, so one moment.
Oh Lord,
When I was a young lad, really into Star Wars,
yes.
and I wanted to pop in that movie and watch it, who would watch it with me? No one.
Huh.
Or
What about your younger brother?
or my older sister Emily, who only wanted to watch Return of the Jedi because of the fuzzy bears.
Oh.
Oh Emily.
So I would indulge because finally one of my siblings wanted to watch Star Wars.
Your little brother didn't?
My little brother did not watch movies. He still does not.
All right.
Interesting man, that young lad.
He also doesn't like to play lightsaber battle with sticks.
Really?
He also didn't like to play This Playground is the Millennium Falcon.
Oh.
He also didn't like to play Oh, we're in the woods, so we're on Endor. But little Mike Calhoun did.
Yes, of course.
But little Mike Calhoun was 3 years older than his younger brother.
Yeah.
So if his younger brother didn't want to play,
What did that
then
mean?
it
about-
must
yeah.
be pretty lame.
I like that you're talking about this like it's a story, but I'll let you continue. Little
Yeah.
Mike Calhoun.
So when 20 years later, I have some friends saying, "Do you want to go slap some people with lightsabers out in the woods?" I'll go, "I did many years ago,
Oh, it's a tear to my eye.
and I never got my chance. No, I never."
Well, here's a question.
and the
If-
neighbors down the street, all they wanted to do was play football.
Here's a question. If you had a bunch of like 15-year-olds who came to you now and said, "Do you want to play lightsabers with in the woods?"
Okay, first of all, a bunch of 15-year-old boys coming up to my front door and saying, "Hey, you want to play lightsabers in the woods?"
Let's say you're already at the park.
I feel
Already
like-
at the park.
I was gonna say, I
Stop
feel
ruining
like
my
that's-
scenario. You're at the
I'm
park
at the
already.
park,
And then
I'm-
they're just
I'm
like,
looking
"Hey,
at
will you
these
play
little
with us?"
boys. I put down my binoculars.
Stop ruining this. They're just
Stop
like
ruining everything, Calhoun.
they're like, "Hey, sir, gentlemen, would you like to would you like to play lightsabers
I
with
would
us?"
say thank you for addressing me by my proper title.
Yes.
Sir Gentleman Calhoun.
Thank you for addressing me as my proper title. And while I'm obliged at your offer, it is 20 years too late.
Oh, so that's what you thought when we were.
A little
out.
bit. I was just like, man, as much as I would have loved that, I was kind of like shunned, not shunned, but just like, no one else is doing this. This is dumb. This must be stupid. This must be a bad idea. Men don't do these things.
Well, you might be right about that. No, but we got a couple.
But even as a
people.
kid, my Star Wars was very seclusive. It was something I liked alone, and my mom would recognize and get me a T-shirt or take me to the mall and get me a bootleg copy of episode 1 off of a table that was for $1.
Nice.
And then it turns out that it was like a TV copied version on VHS. And oh man, that's actually a really good memory, knowing that the first copy of episode 1 I ever owned was a bootleg.
Wow.
Like, and even the sleeve was bootleg too.
Wow, that's
I don't
pretty
know.
cool.
So my mom, shout out to Jolene for knowing her children and knowing what their tastes were.
Right.
Because me and my brother were not the same, and still aren't.
Because I will say, if we, kind of go back to far back memories in terms, I remember seeing episode 1 for the first time. I've talked about it on the show before, but I remember seeing it going to the Macedonia movie theater, getting the N1 Starfighter, the Naboo Starfighter at Walmart beforehand. I remember seeing it, and then I remember when we got it on VHS, I watched that thing all the time. I watched episode 1 all the time.
I did too.
Multiple times a day. All the time. And I remember vividly my dad asking me, "Hey, Ty Buck, you've seen that several times now. Has it changed yet?" In the way of, like, you watched it so many times. Is
Please
it
stop.
different?
Please stop watching it.
Why are you still watching it? It hasn't changed at all yet. And I'm just like, whatever. Dad, you don't understand me. No. But no, I remember that. And I remember vividly my one of my brother's friends coming over when I was watching it, talking about, Natalie Portman. Talking about Natalie Portman and being like, she's only 19, so there's like still a chance for me. I remember that vividly
Oh my
while I was
God.
watching episode 1.
Yep, still a chance.
I love those conversations as a young teen. You're just like, oh, she's only 19, so we're both teenagers because
Right.
I'm 13.
Well, no, they were
Someday.
they were
Someday.
around that age at that point because of how old my brothers were.
Right.
So yeah, there was a huge disconnect there. I sort of had this memory and feeling that my brothers weren't that into episode 1. I don't know why, but they weren't that into it as much as I was.
Why don't you guys love this as much as I do?
Right.
I have 3 brothers who are all pretty close in age to
Yeah.
me. So we all kind of experienced it at the same time. I think the thing that I always talk about is video games, because we just played a ton of video games at my house, and we played the Clone Wars game. Did you ever play the Clone Wars game?
Mm-mm.
No.
What console was that for? Like
Xbox.
GameCube generation?
Xbox. It was Clone Wars / Tetris, because it was one of those dual titles.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
Lord.
It was when the Xbox first came out, they had a bunch of titles they just threw out there. One of them was Clone Wars / Tetris.
Was it meant to be like the movie video game, like the official movie video game?
I
think
mean,
I might have played that.
No,
I have
but
memories of playing the episode 1 video game.
episode 1, yes,
Yeah.
where the computer one, where you were just like a block.
Right. Well, and you had that Gatling gun thing that you
Oh
could get.
yes, you get, and the cheat code would let you make it shoot tank shells.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
we knew all the cheat codes and everything. We would all. I could say stuff like I could say the laser blast just grazed my shoulder. I could say it to my brother, and he'd know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's crazy.
But I remember my cousins coming over after I got that for Christmas one year and me being like, you have to see this. This game looks incredible.
I remember thinking it was really cool, and I remember being like, I can use force push. And you're like,
Yep.
And then, do you remember when? What was it? Pod Racer game. Oh wow!
I
never got
only
to
have
play
ever
it.
played that with you, Johnny. The pod racing
Because
game.
it's on the N64 only, I think.
No, it was on PC too.
Oh.
And wow, I played so much. that game.
I bet I would have. I just don't
yeah.
think my parents were very like they knew that I was into Star Wars sometimes, or maybe they were just like, "Ah, we're just not gonna get this if he's not asking for it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna bother." So it's like I had to know what to ask for, but I didn't really have a lot of Star Wars friends to like bounce it off of. Like, have you heard of this? Have you tried this? Have you played this? So it was just like, oh, I think I vaguely saw someone at a friend's house playing this Rogue Squadron GameCube game, and I was like, can I get that game? And it turned out to be a awesome Star Wars
Yes.
game. Really solidified that part of my fandom. Like oh, we're in between movies.
Yeah.
The first-
GameCube era.
I remember X-Wing and what was the first one? Rebel Assault?
I don't know.
Was that the first one? I can't remember, but I remember because I remember at first thinking my brothers would play those all the time. My older brothers, and I'd be like, "This is just like triangles you're shooting at. Like,
Oh.
how do you even know?"
Are you talking about like X-Wing?
Yeah, X-Wing.
Yeah, my brothers played that, and my brothers had a joystick for their computer.
Yes.
wow.
So
They had
it was like extreme for them
Yeah.
when it came to X-Wing. Like my
Oh,
brother,
they got serious.
my brother Brandon is huge on ships. He knows a whole lot about ships. And my oldest brother Jim, he likes Star Wars. That's about it.
Okay.
He never really dove into it as much as Brandon and I did. And Brandon never dove into it as much as I definitely did.
Right.
But that's sort of what stoked those flames, were them being into it and me being like just soaking that up.
Right.
Any sort of bit of it.
Any sort of interest they had.
Do you guys remember like back in the day those like sit-up bars? There would be like a bar behind your head, and then it would loop up under your arms, and then it
Yeah.
would go up in front of you. I would pretend that was a TIE interceptor.
That's awesome.
Like
yeah.
I would pretend like holding onto those bars. That's another like old.
I would do that with laundry baskets. We had a circular laundry basket, and that
Oh.
was you were the TIE fighter.
You were inside. of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I specifically had that sit-up bar thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it like the swivel seat and everything, and you just be like, because I would act like I was in the Millennium Falcon. Actually.
Isn't that so weird
I
that
did it.
like these random things?
Well, yeah, you do anything you can with the imagination like that,
Right.
Young kids, you find what you can and you make it work, and hopefully no one walks in and goes, "What the hell are you doing?"
Right. Yeah, that was a big hope for me even as a child.
Later I think when I started like having friends that were like equal nerds and wanted to go see the movies with me and stuff was like middle school.
like Cool Matt.
Cool Matt, that's when I met Cool Matt in jazz band, and Taylor Landgraf,
yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Billy Bajer. Those were my nerd friends, and we went and saw all the Spider-Mans and definitely all the Star Wars.
Spider-Man.
And we would talk about the Star Wars video games.
Played
So that's
some
when
Halo 2.
Lots of Halo 2 happened, yeah. And I remember like comparing all space-themed things on Star Wars. That's how early Star Wars memories go for me.
I think that might be how it is for everybody for the rest of the time, to be honest.
That's very
Yeah.
true.
Star Wars is kind of like the tippity top in terms of like space media.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember that reminds me, Johnny, the first time I ever came to your house, 10 years ago at this point, you were playing Halo.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And that's how I knew.
Was it playing Halo 1?
No, you were playing like Halo 2 or even Halo 3.
Yeah, we are a Halo household.
Right, and that's when I knew. I'm like, oh, these guys, they're different because you and Andrew Words were playing Halo, and I was like, oh, I've never played Halo before, so I guess this is like my new life now.
Nice.
We had to fight tooth and nail to let our parents let us play Halo.
Same here. It was a lot of like,
I never won
But
that
it's
battle.
aliens.
But it's alien. It's not real human.
look, their blood's green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was purple.
Purple.
Because I had to be like, the blood's purple. It's not red.
Isn't that funny that was like the it was like they had a check. Well, it's aliens. Oh, there's no sex. And they got purple blood. Great, it's a trifecta. They
Right,
can play it.
I have red blood and I have green blood because of that Predator movie I saw back in the 80s. What is it? It's purple? Oh, well, looks like one box is open, so you guys can go ahead and purchase that.
Meanwhile, in the Tony Hawk games, if Motorhead says ass, no way,
Yes.
No
not
way.
getting that
That's
skateboarding
true.
game.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But that was one of the things, and then I think what kept Johnny and I together from friends back then until now was all of a sudden we started talking about Star Wars Battlefront 2.
oh,
And that's
such a good
when
game.
that and Emery, the band, but Battlefront 2 was like, wait, you like Star Wars?
Oh yeah.
And it
we
was
played
like-
that a lot.
A wall got broken down that day when it was like, oh, Star Wars, huh?
I mean, I guess.
Well, let me tell you about Star Wars because I love Star Wars.
I think, I mean, I guess at this point, 10 years is like that's pretty long.
So long.
Yeah.
So I guess it is kind of like your first forays, but we would spend like weekends doing Galactic Assault,
Galactic Conquest.
Galactic Conquest, which, I mean, kudos to them for coming up with a game type that
Right.
takes like hours and hours and hours to finish.
And to give it the opportunity to have it co-op.
Oh, yeah,
to make
genius.
it co-op really just solidifies a lot of people's first video game
because
memories.
that was something that my brother Brandon and I would do, even with Battlefront 1. That's a huge memory I have. A great time I remember is him and I being in his room for Battlefront 1 when it was just one screen. If you remember, Johnny, with just like each planet, like there's 8 planets or whatever,
Oh,
and you'd
yeah.
have to get control of them. Huge memory. We would sit there for like 3-4 hours and just complete a Galactic Conquest in just one go.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
that feeling is so good.
Oof.
It's like when one time my cousin and I played through all of Halo 1. And if you've ever played Halo 1, the campaign is known for taking hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we played it all in one day.
Oh wow.
It took
I mean, that kind of goes back to when we did Sob Story in Left 4 Dead.
my God.
In
that
Left
took
4 Dead
so
2,
long.
when we tried to play this game type where you couldn't get any witches to say, that's youth for you, and I think that's
Yeah.
youth for
It's like,
us.
hey, want to spend 5 hours playing one video game? Sure, I literally have nothing else to do.
I have nothing better to do. Right.
I don't know if that one particular story is because we weren't great at the game, not because it just took that long.
Hey. You're probably right.
I have a memory of getting my first GameCube and Star Wars being one of the very first games, and I didn't have a memory card yet. So for the first few days, I wanted to play it so badly. I would just I would fly around, do the missions, and then I put it on pause, go to school, and I
leave it
come
on.
back home and I turn on that TV and they're.
Oh, yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
like,
Yep.
it was beautiful.
Do you remember that there were certain levels we would want to play on Battlefront 1 and 2? So we would constantly take them out and put them in to play the levels we wanted to play.
I didn't. No, I never
cool.
did that.
Remember, because it was like Bespin was a really great level.
Oh, I love Best Buy.
but you can't play. But it's only on one.
Right.
And then if you wanted to play it, you had to, so you'd go back and forth.
Because isn't Ilum there was another snow planet that was in one?
Oh,
that was
Renvar was
Renvar.
great.
I love Renvar.
But it wasn't on the second one.
Especially when the AT-ATs.
Oh, wait. Was Renvar on both?
No, it was only on one.
Yeah.
When the AT-ATs would be coming through the city.
Oh, so cool.
And you would have to keep everybody back.
And you didn't have to. You didn't have to like hack a bunch of things and wait for a time period to attack the AT-AT. And
I don't know that
I'm
But I'm
bashing
basking
He's
in all
throwing
its
shade
recollection.
towards EA.
EA's Battlefront. You have to wait. For,
Oh.
you can't attack it until a certain time period. It's real dumb.
Right. But no, I mean, we're actually already running a little long, but I will say, I think, so I've talked to people before about Star Wars, and I've talked to people in the same type of way with wrestling, is I can't really sit here at 25 years old across from another 25-year-old and
26.
say, huh?
I'm 26.
I'm not looking at you. I'm saying, I'm talking about
Hypotheticals here.
Oh.
I can't sit across from another 25-year-old person and say, hey, you should really get into Star Wars because let me tell you, you'll love it. Because here's the thing. I loved it from a young age. Same thing with wrestling. It's hard to explain exactly why I love Star Wars. Because you really can't. I think it's something that gets ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Either from a young age or even from maybe a young adult age, but it's hard to find that thing that clicks for you.
Yeah.
I've also found that like people who just never got into Star Wars, I've found that now I really don't even say, "Oh, you should."
Right.
Because there's so much.
Yes.
And you just haven't experienced enough things to like make you like it. I don't know, and it's going to be like forcing it, and it won't be as enjoyable, I feel like.
Yeah, there is definitely part of that, but also
People my age.
but also I think if that part of your brain is there, that part can be tickled in that sense. And, like something can kind of flash in your head and be like, oh, I like this. It's harder to do that as an adult than it is to do it as a child.
Yeah.
I just rewatched, along with friend of the show, Gian, Solo last night.
Oh.
Went out and bought it. And we decided we needed to immediately watch it. And I like making new Star Wars memories with new people. I saw this movie for the first time with my good friend Tabitha, and we both loved it. And I like that sort of thing. And I think those new movies that are coming out, even ones that underperform and possibly become cult classics because that movie is so well made.
Oh, yeah.
I think that movie is going to be a source in 10 years of, man, my first memory was I went and saw this Solo film. And I
Right.
didn't have any context of who Han Solo
Right.
was. How cool could that be? We could be hearing that story.
Yeah, that's true. I think that you're right. That it shouldn't be just like how I just said. Like only people should only wait up to a certain point. You're right. There could always be new memories made.
Well, that's something
New
that
people, new fans.
that's something that us growing up on the original trilogy, we didn't really have that in the terms of we didn't have all the context for everything. I mean, it wasn't until I got older that I really started to dive into the expanded universe. But as a kid, I didn't care that Vader had books and comic books.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all. Like
for
why?
sure.
Why the heck would I care about that? But the movies themselves were enough. So like that, if somebody saw Solo, that's the first one they saw. That's what they know Han Solo from at the beginning.
Right.
And you can kind of retroactively go back and look at everything else that Solo has been a part of.
Some sort of emergency is going on.
If I don't know, is it an emergency or is it a plane going down? I don't know if the listener can hear that, but it just sounds like a. Would you like to bring up the Instagram?
I actually don't have my phone on me.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Johnny, you'll have to do so. Do you have your phone? Get on the old Instagram.
Let me pull up from the Star Wars Hub. I'm kind of interested in, because what I said was, what is your first memory of Star Wars? So I'm kind of interested into what some people might say. Let's go with Gordon Flynn on the Star Wars Hub said, coming home from elementary school and watching the old original pre-special edition releases on VHS. So I'm guessing Gordon was sort of like I was in terms of going home or being there and watching those like it was TV or like it was, just something I wanted to consistently do. I'll also say
Specifically, immediately coming home from school.
Michael White. Well, I was homeschooled, so
Oh, yeah.
I was always
I
at
meant,
school.
I meant his story.
Michael White, the toys from when I was a kid in the 80s. I don't remember when I watched the movies, but I had a lot of figures and loved playing with them. Yeah, that's sort of what we talked about too, in the terms of that Star Wars, for some people, was first the toys or first the video games or first something else. Because like we said, we don't remember when Star Wars was a movie for us.
Yeah, I don't quite remember when I first watched it.
Right.
Oh, I forgot one that I'll bring up right now.
Okay.
I have a very. I used to catch the bus in the morning with various different families, and one time they were watching Star Wars, or the kids wanted to watch Star Wars, and I remember their dad, this random family, telling them that he didn't like them watching Star Wars because in the movie, Darth Vader is called Lord Vader. He's like, see, you shouldn't be watching this because he is considered their god.
Oh,
And I was like, what?
About English lords.
I was so confused. I was like, but that's not even close to true.
I mean, that's my whole being brought up. I mean, my pastor's like wife, who is basically, they're like my grandparents. She had episode 1 in her house, and I remember how cool that looked to me of her, that she had Star Wars at her house. But her whole thing was that it's a fight against good and evil.
Yeah, I had that talk too. It's just
Exactly.
like we can only quantify this movie as being good for you for this reason. That's how Lord of the Rings was explained to me too.
Oh, same for me with Lord of the Rings.
It's like this is a good against evil story, but
Yeah,
that Harry
dude.
Potter one, that one's not good for you.
Harry Potter. They didn't like Harry Potter because it was Gray who was good. There's too many grays.
Too many grays.
Josiah Martz says Luke's confrontation with Vader on Bespin. So I guess for him, it was remembering watching and seeing that for the first time, which that's very scary.
Yeah, that's actually kind of like a horror.
It's so
Memory.
horror.
Yeah.
In terms of like this big imposing figure, evil, red lightsaber, standing over Luke and Luke being horrified.
Smoke and shadows. And, yeah, especially Mark Hamill's acting and just like, where is he?
Yeah.
Scavenger, says trading Lego and Star Wars figures in elementary school.
Oh man, that was.
I did bring in 1 or 2 Lego sculptures of mine from Star Wars for show and tell.
Really?
I would bring them into
Yeah.
the co-op I had, but I would remember being very protective, and I didn't like people touching them.
Oh,
So I
yeah?
think I stopped doing that.
Oh yeah, I definitely brought in my Naboo Starfighter.
Oh, those are so cool.
I remember the homeschool co-op I was a part of that I was singing the Reliant K song, Let the Horse Be With You. Do you remember that, Johnny?
Yes,
Did you ever
yes.
listen to Reliant K when you
No,
were
no,
in
not
the
until
churchy
way
days?
later.
And I remember singing that song while doing a lightsaber battle with an older kid there who is very nerdy. And he was like, he took offense to the fact that I was singing that song because the Force is too important to be making a joke of. I believe that's what he said to me.
Oh, wow.
I have that type of memory.
That's
too far.
kind of amazing.
Too far.
Daniel Van Ree, a very good friend. Go check out his page, The Battlefront, on Facebook.
Oh, what's
he
up?
says, my very first memory of Star Wars was getting a Plo Koon Lego set from my dad. It contained his blue lightsaber and his figure. That's where my addiction started.
Dude, that wasn't until way later.
Yeah.
And it's very unique and extremely specific. So that's cool that his memory is so specific.
But Plo Koon's pretty cool, so.
Right. We have a lot of Plo Koon love on the show.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of
Plo
love for Plo
Koon.
Koon.
I mean, you were rewatching a lot of the Clone Wars.
I'm done now.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah, I finished the Lost series.
Congrats.
Thank you.
But Plo Koon's part in that, I mean, his
yeah.
voice acting is amazing. The episodes where he's lost in space with the clones and
Yes.
that was pretty dark. If I can say for 1 second, where the droids are going to escape pods and
Yes.
opening escape pods and sending people into the vacuum of space to kill them.
Yeah, that was really.
But yeah,
I mean, they show a lot of dead clones on that show.
there's a lot of death in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Caleb DeFell says putting together a Jabba's Desert Scarif Lego set. It was my first
Yeah.
Star Wars one.
I remember that.
And this is how young Caleb is. He said that it was 2012.
What?
Wow.
Oh, the new one. Wow.
So,
I remember the old one, too.
That's a great Lego set, and thanks for being a listener.
and Michael, I'll end with this. Michael Elam says, being at my friend's house and coming in after the swimming pool in the pool for a few hours, trying to start watching episode 6 and not getting past 5 minutes because my mom would come and pick me up. This happened pretty much every time I went to his house.
Oh, man.
But
That's
that
funny.
That must have been like, if you put yourself back as being a kid, that must have been one of those things that was like mystery. Like, I only got to see a little bit of this.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Oh, that would have been cool.
Man, I want to see the rest of it. What is the rest of it like?
Yeah.
And then like that, every time you go and try and see any more of it, you get picked up by your mom.
That was always the bane of a kid's existence. It's
Was
just
getting picked up by your
"Ah,
mom?"
Mom's here like 10 minutes early?
Yes.
Oh my
Why?
God. Yes.
Why are you here early?
Oh,
I'm
oh.
still playing Legos.
Oh, my mom's talking to your mom. We
still
can
got
do
more.
something
Yeah, we
really
gotta
quick.
have
Yeah, I
more.
remember that. I remember
Got a
doing
cool,
Right.
cool 20 extra minutes.
that. That's so cool. I remember that.
That brought me back big time is when, our parents are talking. We have more time.
yeah.
It seriously was like they're like in a prison. Like the guards are talking.
Oh,
Quick.
they only gave us 5 hours to hang out today. Like, imagine having 5 hours to just chill out tomorrow. Oh, I'd love for that.
Man,
to
that would
happen.
be
wow.
cool.
Come on, I gotta get all my friends to come over where their moms aren't. They don't have to. Well, they might have wives.
Like
tell
the
them to
only
come home.
thing, the only thing keeping your friends from hanging out with you was just the fact that they didn't have someone to transport them to
Yes.
your house.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. And
Otherwise, you would hang out all day.
I'm
every
not
day.
your taxi, Michael.
Oh, wow.
Oh
All right,
wow, Jolene.
I'll walk.
Well, let's end this episode, but that's something that we're going to be doing at some point. The three of us is playing video games for a night at my new house to kind of break it in.
Oh,
but
man.
that's a good example. I'm going to get us Mountain Dew. And I'm going to get us Doritos.
Guess what? We gotta play some Halo 2.
Oh, Halo
Going
2,
in.
Left 4 Dead.
Oh man.
Oh,
we
man.
do that system link.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, boy.
We're yelling down the hallway. Oh, I got you! I got you real good.
Hey, shut up, Mike! I hate you! I'm going to call your mom to come pick you up.
All right, you boys, you calm down in there.
That's
Sorry, Mrs. Simmons.
That's something I would remember.
Greg Simmons' house.
That's something I would remember, though. Like, did you guys ever have friends growing up that would threaten to call your parents to come pick you
I
up?
never had that. That
I
would be
never
a
had
crappy
that,
friend.
but I've threatened to call people's parents.
What?
Johnny,
just once.
You snitch.
It was just once.
Snitches.
and it was mostly a joke.
Snitches get stitches, Johnny.
It was on Andrew Wirtz.
I was
if
gonna
that-
say.
Oh, that
I was
may-
gonna say,
okay,
okay, that's okay.
Okay, that's totally okay. But yeah, so after you listen to this, go ahead and hit us back up and let us know more about your first memories with Star
I
Wars.
want to read some more of those. I'm excited.
Because I think that's fun.
Me too.
Is like we've talked about, and I think a lot of people might be able to be there with us, is that idea of, I don't remember when I first watched Star Wars.
Yeah.
I just always had Star Wars. Right. Well, but some of the people who commented say they do remember exactly. Who cares?
Well,
though.
you blessed heart.
Yeah.
If you can remember the moment you became a Star Wars fan, then good for you.
Right. So I just have hazy memories. And actually, I'll end with this one. I almost forgot. We had sleeping bags. We camped a lot growing up. And my dad would always put me in my sleeping bag and say, I thought they smelled bad on the outside,
That's excellent.
pretending it was a Tauntaun. And I
great.
still want one of those Tauntaun backpacks.
Oh.
Or no, Tauntaun
Sleeping bag.
sleeping bags. I still want one of those as an adult because of that memory.
That's a great memory.
But yeah.
Great memory.
Very poetic. All
Well, bye.
We're doomed.
Hey guys, thanks again for listening. And if you're looking for ways to support us, the absolute best way is to tell a friend. Subscribe to us on iTunes, as well as any other place that great podcasts can be found. Find us on social media at Chatter Squadron, and we'll be looking forward to reaching you every Tuesday.